Hey guys, welcome back to the Blue Podcast. Today it is me, Carlos, Lloyd, and our guest Javi. How you doing, sir?
Hello.
Good.
Very good. Yeah.
Very good. How you guys doing?
Very good. The
Very
weather.
good. Yeah.
The weather, guys.
Obviously,
unreal.
you're from Spain.
Yeah, I'm from Sevilla.
From
same
Seville as
Carlos,
well.
yes.
Yeah. Enjoying the sun in the last couple of days.
Yeah. No, it looks like Seville in January, so to say. So.
To be fair, yeah.
That is fair. That is fair.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, I was wearing sunglasses today on the way here, which was nice. It's nice with when it's sunny.
When it's not sunny, it's a bit weird.
It's not sunny. It's not very nice. But Avi, do you want to kind of explain to our audience what it is you do?
Yeah, I basically work only in betting. Like everything I do is related to betting. I studied engineering in Spain. I finished 2004, so long ago. But then I discovered betting, and I realized that I could make a living out of it because there were so many opportunities in the past. Like the market has been changing a lot, so I have been evolutioning as well in what I've done. But yeah, I started with some very simple strategies in betting. I have been evolutioning with them. But I have been working only in betting for the last 16 years, something like that.
16 years.
I was working for two companies, one here in London, one in Hong Kong. And then I started on my own after I came back from Hong Kong. And yeah, I've been on my own since then.
When was that you started like betting and you saw like you could do like a life from it?
Well, obviously I started making a life of it when I got a job here in London. Before, it started looking good, but I was still working in something related to engineering.
Yes.
So, I was doing both at the same time. It was actually much easier to make money back then than now, but, like it was still not so something you be too confident about, because you could be having like ups and downs, even if the strategy I was doing, I'm not sure if you know different strategies that
Can't say I do.
This
is why you're here. This is why you're here.
Like I started with arbing, which is also called sure bets. Is when you do two bets that complement each other. So whatever happens, you win money. So that in 2006, which when I started, it was very easy to do. You had to pay for some software or something. It would tell you the bets to do. So you didn't have to be looking at the screens or anything. It would be just a service that you could pay for. And you could receive, for example, a bet on this match for the over, this match for the under, and the odds in both games complemented themselves. So you would make maybe a 1% of the money you were betting.
Okay.
So you could bet 100 on one, 100 on the other one, and you would make 101 at the end. So you would win £1 from a bet of 200 or something. Okay. So it was like very easy, but it had also some risks. Like for example, some bookies would cancel the bets. And then you could be screwed because you could be like with the risk on one of the sides. So I mean there were some risks, but it was very easy in that sense. And normally the bookies were okay with it back in the day. Like nowadays, if you do it, well, I'm not sure if you know this, but bookies when you win money, they try to block your account or they try to restrict your.
Yeah, I know some people who they've won big, and then they can't do another bet.
Yeah. So that happens a lot. But if you do it with sure bets or arbing. Back in the day, you could bet for a couple of months or whatever. Nowadays, they will block you maybe on the first day.
Really?
So it's like they don't want you to do it because they know you are gonna make money at the end of the day. So especially if you do it with horse racing and things like that the odds drop very fast. They will block your account, as soon as you do it, basically, because then now they will have a tool that tells them, oh, he's been doing arbing, he's been doing this and that. So, that's what I was doing. It's not possible to do it anymore.
Okay.
But it's how I started. And, it's not a way to start anymore. But there are other ways you can start with at the moment.
How would you start nowadays?
Like nowadays, I think it's very easy to start with bonuses. Like a lot of companies give you a bonus. I am not sure, actually, if in the UK they are still giving these bonuses. I think they are. But the Gambling Commission is restricting a lot these bonuses, so I'm not sure how they work nowadays. I mean, I don't do it, but I think some people do it. So they will give you, for example, 100% on your deposit, something like that.
Okay.
So then with that money, if you are matching bets with similar bets in other bookies, you will never lose the money. You will maybe lose a percentage of the money, but because you got the deposit 100%, then it will be very easy to make some money out of it. Okay. So for example, you make in two different bookies, you make two deposits of 50, so you get £100 back, and maybe after the requirements to get the money, because normally you have like a rolling. Is it called rolling money requirement or something?
Yeah,
like
you
that?
have to.
Yeah.
If you're given money, you have to kind of make up.
Yeah.
So I know something that I've seen on betting accounts is they'll give you kind of an extra £10, but you can't withdraw that. It's just only if you win with that £10 will you get, for example, that.
Yeah, but sometimes you also have the rolling requirement, which means that you have to bet it maybe 6 times. So you until you haven't bet
I didn't know about
60, you will not be able to withdraw. So I'm not sure. There
yeah,
are
I saw
some,
that.
you have to really read the fine print in all this. Normally, the welcome bonuses are better. For example, for the Euros, all the companies, at least in the past, I'm not sure now because the gambling is becoming more difficult in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, they always gave you a lot of bonuses everywhere. It's the same when Cheltenham is on or National. What's the name? The big National.
Yeah.
No, the big National, the horse racing event. I mean
The
Grand National. Sorry.
Grand Nationals.
So yeah, when these events happen, there are always a lot of big events, and it's the best moment to enter the bookies because then is when you will get more money out of it. But then they also give you like bonuses just for turnover, for staying. Maybe when you've been without betting for a while, they will try to get you again with another bonuses. So accumulating all these bonuses, you can make quite a decent amount by then matching the bets. And I'm not doing it because it's more for a starter person. But somebody told me, for example, they were making something like £500 per month doing it, and I was very surprised. Like, how is this possible? But the thing is that maybe Bet365 will not do it, but a small bookie will offer you a 200% bonus up to 1,000 or something like that. And it's like they are giving you free 2,000. Obviously, their intention is that you lose it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you lose it, but you will win it in the other bookie.
Yeah,
So at the end, you're fine. A lot of people will offset their bets against Betfair. You know Betfair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with Betfair, Betfair obviously are not able to offer these big bonuses because their margins are maybe smaller. But people maybe will lose the money in the bookie, win it in Betfair, so that bookie will be happy to give you another bonus again, and it will keep rolling like that. And I know people who have done a lot of money just doing that, which is very simple. It takes a lot of time though.
Yeah.
Like it's not something that you spend 5 minutes on. It's maybe an hour per day or something like that, in checking all the emails.
Still, an hour per day it's
it's
not bad.
It's a job.
no, it's all right.
No, but it depends also on your age.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a way to start nowadays. And obviously, if you want to start pricing up a league, for example, and you say, let's price up Premier League, that is a really difficult game.
What does price up mean for the?
Price up is like, imagine you know absolutely nothing about the odds in the market, and I tell you what would be your odds if Brentford plays Fulham.
Pretty 50-50. Well,
But they are playing at Brentford.
Probably leaning towards Brentford.
Yeah, so you have to know. You think the teams are similar, right? And they probably are. But the home advantage is quite a big impact on the football.
Yeah.
So from that, you can build up your opinions, and then you compare against the market. And, as a rule, you have to believe that the closing prices, so just the prices at kickoff, are normally very good. It's this is a theory called the perfect market strategy.
Mm-hmm.
It also works in the stock exchange, in different financial environments. But in betting, it's a good dogma that you can follow to improve your betting.
Okay.
So if you believe that the closing odds just before kickoff are perfect, which they are really not, but we're gonna believe they are, that will help you improve your odds every week. So, for example, you will say, Brentford against Fulham. The probability of a draw in the Premier League, for example? Do you know what is it?
No.
Have you seen the odds normally? They are always around, in British terms, they are around 2 to 1, right? Like
2 to 1, okay.
in European odds, you probably know, is 320, 340.
But, yeah.
If it's a Man City game, it's going to be much more. But in an even game, it's normally those odds, right? So that's if you check the number of draws in the last 10 years, for example, you will see it's pretty in line with that.
Okay.
But obviously, for example, if it's two teams that are very defensive, it's gonna be a bigger chance. If it's teams that are higher scoring teams, it's gonna be less. So obviously, this is all based on maths. Do you have any background in maths, any of you?
I did civil engineering at uni.
Okay, so you probably know.
Yeah,
I know.
No more than us. Yeah,
I
definitely.
did do maths.
No, no.
A-level.
What I mean is that he's gonna have an advantage over you two in order to try to make this. So basically, the easiest way of analyzing football is that you think both teams have a probability of scoring a number of goals.
Yeah.
And those goals are going to be distributed with a Poisson distribution. You know the Poisson distribution? Okay, so it's something that happens when you have an average probability. You will have a probability of 0 times happening, 1 time happening.
Yes.
So you will have it's similar to the Gauss bell shape, but it's a different formula. And with that, you can make up the probability of all the scores. Right? And that is obviously not perfect because, for example, when a team is losing, they will play different.
Yeah.
When a team is, but it's very much what it happens in a football.
So
game.
it's quite stat based to an extent.
Yeah.
So I mean, one of our co-hosts.
Henry will love it.
Absolutely.
All over that.
Well, obviously that's the way I do it.
Yeah,
right? That doesn't mean other people will just say, Real Madrid wins every time. So let's back Real Madrid. They will not even look at the odds, right?
Yeah.
But that's not the scientific way
it's
of.
probably not the best way to do it. No. In theory, it's probably not the safest way to do it.
No. Yeah. It will probably, if somebody is very good and he has a lot of intuition, he will probably still make money. But I think he will be very chaotic in a way.
Yeah.
Like if you checked, for example, the way my results are, they are not very steady, but you will see there is a trend.
Okay.
On the wins, right? Like you will see there are I can be losing money for 3 months or 6 months, but over the year I will win most of the years. Okay. But somebody who bets like that, maybe he will be winning for 3 months a lot of money, and then he will lose for 6 months.
Yeah.
It will be much different, because they will. For them, it will be very difficult to bet against the teams that always win, for example, right? Like,
do you also have to kind of almost take out your football fan?
Yeah, of course.
From that, obviously.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it's not easy to be like that. But everybody has a bit of that in them as well, right? So, for example, when I'm watching live games, even if I can think of the stats behind it in a way. It's not so easy as on the kickoff, no? But you can be thinking like, oh, this match I was thinking like that, but now, imagine, for example, if in Real Madrid you see that Kroos gets injured, you think, okay, so Real Madrid are going to be worse now without him, so I can bet against Real Madrid, right? You can be thinking like that, but it's a bit difficult, and you are going to be tending more to do bets based on that intuition, whatever you want to call it.
Do you remember the other day when we went to watch the game?
Yeah. No, I was thinking like Madrid is gonna always draw this, right? But when they drew, I was like, oh no, they are gonna win it, because in a way it always happens. But it's very easy when you are right. This is actually called hindsight bias in English.
Yes.
And have you heard about the hindsight bias?
I recognize the name.
So basically, is when you see something happening that you thought of, you think, oh, I was so sure about this. Like, for example, I was talking to him watching the Real Madrid game, and I was thinking like, they are going to draw. So it doesn't matter if it's now or in the 99th minute.
Yeah.
But, I was quite sure they were going to draw in a way. But you were not... I wasn't betting all my money on it. I was betting a very small amount on it, So that's what I mean. Like, after it happens, it's like, oh, it was so obvious. But it wasn't so obvious because for 5 or 6 minutes, Real Madrid were not producing anything. You always think, oh, this is going to be the time where it doesn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very difficult to be so sure about anything.
Okay, fair enough. This is kind of just my only experience in terms of betting is through a friend who does a lot of ACCAs.
Yeah.
And I know he's been very close. Let's say they only put a fiver on, and it's about 6 to 10 different results. Some of them being like the 2.5 goals and the winner, or like if someone has a -1 handicap, those kind of things. And obviously, if you put them together, you can get quite a big, quite a big win if you were to do it. But obviously, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a good tactic for someone who's just taking it as a football fan, kind of just hoping, like they're going from their own knowledge of who should win, who shouldn't win, and
Obviously, when we're talking about football fan, I imagine it's somebody who is not going to have an edge, right? We call an edge when you think that your opinions are better than the market. Okay. Your opinions. Remember the dogma, right? Kickoff is perfect, so you should never bet on kickoff. That's in a
what
theoretical.
about before kickoff?
But before kickoff, you can have an edge, right?
Okay.
So, for example, imagine in 2 weeks, you can bet already for, in 2 weeks for the Premier League, and you can think, I don't know. Imagine, for example, Fulham are probably gonna lose against City this tomorrow, and then they are probably not gonna care about the last game versus Luton. So I'm gonna bet for Luton. So it's a theory that makes some sense, right? You check the odds and then you bet for Luton. Then maybe it happens what you thought. Fulham loses tomorrow, and then you see that the price drops. So that was a good bet. But to have an accumulation of 10 bets like that is quite difficult. So normally when people are doing ACAs, it's just for fun.
Yeah.
I think for fun it's okay. It's like in Spain we had the Quiniela, which I think it never existed in the UK. It's like
there's no Quiniela here.
I think never. The word Quiniela means something different with horse racing, but Quiniela is never existed here. But it existed in Italy. It was basically selecting 15 games, normally 10 from the first division, 5 from the second, and you would have to say who's gonna win. But the prize was a pool, like similar to that. It's like a tote, generally called here.
A prize pool,
but there wasn't a popular tote across the country. I think it never existed. So the idea is that everybody's gonna select the same, right? Like everybody thinks Real Madrid is gonna win, Barcelona's gonna win, Sevilla home are gonna win, whatever. But the best strategy was normally to put some surprises there because the prize would be split between the people who So it was always a good idea to think, what are the most probable surprises? So with ACAS, you can go for all the favorites, for example, and that doesn't hurt you because the odds more or less reflect the real probability. So having an ACA with all the favorites in Europe a lot of times will make you win money. And that doesn't mean it's a good strategy. Just you will win a lot of weeks and you will be engaged to the games. For example, in the UK, I think the average spend per person per month is something like £20 on betting. So it's not too bad. It's like I'm not sure if you make any money, but I mean, like for most people, it's more or less what you're paying for Netflix or whatever. No? So it's just it's an entertainment that is not causing a lot of damage. Obviously, a lot of people are suffering from addictions.
Just to clarify. Just to clarify.
Sorry, but yeah, like on average, it's not a big problem, right? Like it's not. Obviously, there are some addicts, and you have to be very careful with not becoming an addict and not. This is the first rule: is like not losing more money than you can afford to lose. So when you place a bet, you have to think of it as if you were drinking a beer or something, right? Like it's some money that you're not gonna get back. When you're paying £5 for a beer, you are really. You are paying something that should be £1. You're paying 5 for it because you are in a. This is similar, right? So, and basically, when you are playing a £5 ACA to win 1,000, probably you are throwing away £1, and £4 are good in a way, right? So you are, you are stupidly spending £1, and £4 are mathematically okay. So. That's more or less what will happen when you make an ACA. So it's not the end of the world. But there are ways of making ACAs with a profit as well. But then you have to select all the bets with an edge over the market. But it's not going to be so easy. It's something that is possible.
Research and
or you can follow. There are ways as well. Follow tipsters, follow other friends. For example, imagine the three of you want to make money of betting, and you say, okay, I'm going to concentrate on the Polish league, I'm going to concentrate on the Croatian league, and I'm going to concentrate on the Slovenian league. Why do I say this? Because if you try the three of you in the Premier League, the three of you are probably going to fail. But if you try with smaller leagues, you might find, if you read the news and you know who's injured and you know who's going to play Europa League, you will find some good bets, probably, or at least after some months.
Why is that?
The reason is that there is less. Normally, the bookies have less people dedicated to them because there is less money involved, and also the markets that all the bookies in the UK and in the world are really based on what a group of experts that are normally together in syndicates and big companies in Asia think, right? So. whatever Bet365 thinks about the game, it doesn't really matter so much because there are people that know a lot more than them. So they are trying to follow them all the time. And this is a bit too complex to explain, but basically just is a bit like the stock exchange. Imagine when you want to buy olive oil or something, normally there is a price that is based on what somebody in a market is making the price of.
Yeah.
So the supermarket price is going to be based on that price plus all the all the different commissions in the way that
a lot about
So like in Chicago, for example, obviously maybe there is no olive oil market in Chicago, but there is like I think there is an orange market and a cocoa market.
Okay.
There is a lot of markets in Chicago and in London probably as well.
Yeah.
And these markets are deciding the prices of commodities around the world, right? So in a in a parallelism, it happens the same with betting. Betfair is quite important, but really the actors in Betfair are following these people. Normally the syndicates, a lot of them are in London, a lot of them are also in Malta, most of them are in Europe. The syndicates are normally not giving away their opinions until very late. So even if, imagine for example, a small bookie sets the odds for Man City Luton the first week of the year, and they say, okay, Man City are gonna lose this game, so they are gonna be 320 Man City, draw 340, Luton are favorites 250, right? Imagine that's the odds. These syndicates know that those prices are totally wrong, but they are not gonna bet on them.
Okay.
Or at least they will not do directly. They will maybe. But yeah, a lot of people will know that the odds are wrong, so everybody will bet on Man City, and eventually the odds will drop. But these people know better what the odds should be. They are much better than me as well, and they will wait until the end. But yeah, this market in Asia will, by setting higher odds, they will try to attract all these, let's say, smarter customers, to try to make them fight between each other. Okay, fair. So that will create like a fight for which is the right price.
Yeah.
Before all these big syndicates, which are just people with more knowledge on the markets, come in, so they will be more ready to take bets from these people.
Okay.
Oh,
So it's more like a pyramid. It's very complicated. I think there is an article. Tony Bloom, the Brighton owner.
Yeah.
He's one of these big actors.
Is it?
And another one is the Brentford owner.
Yes, the Brentford owner was pretty.
I never met any of them, but I did an interview for Tony Bloom's company, and they didn't get me. So yes, so you see the perspective on how far I am from Tony Bloom. Tony Bloom, back in the day, I'm not sure now, but he was making like 500 million only from betting.
Yeah, he's massive in this.
Yeah.
He's minted. We taught him what minted means as well.
Yeah.
But also. The Brentford owner as well is obviously massive in the betting.
Yeah, he's
game.
called Matthew Benham, I think, and he's also very good in football scouting. He's I'm not sure who invented it really, but between I have a funny anecdote that maybe I don't tell, but I lost some money because these two people opened a bookie back really long ago called Premier Bet. And I remember they didn't pay out. They went bankrupt and they didn't pay out. And I was like, well, I thought it was just a scam. But it turned out both of them became very rich. And I think I lost with their company something like 200 euros in 2006. So it was like. And then when I read about it, I was like, oh my god. But well, it was probably not their fault. It was a company called Premier Bet, which it opened for 6 months or whatever. And they've been very successful, and they both built their empires thanks to the betting. And they are still doing it. And whatever their opinion is, will move the market one way or the other. Okay. But obviously, their margins are never very big, because when they enter the market, a lot of people have put their opinions already in. Right? So it could be a bit like, imagine, I don't know. Yeah, imagine any of you put a price, and then you have a pyramid of people where everybody is going to change the price that you are setting, and then at the end they will do it with more money but with less margin, right? Okay. So every time there is a step into it, which normally is based on the days until the kickoff. Okay. So normally, let's say 1 week before kickoff, the odds can be still maybe 10% wrong. maybe 5 days, a bit less, and that's it. We're talking on averages, obviously.
What would, as someone who's doing the betting, as a much smaller, like way down the pyramid, just someone who's not really involved in, involving if the bets are right, would it be better to bet whilst the bets are off if there is a bet that's really good? Let's say it's Man City Luton game, as you were saying, for example. If you looked at the betting companies and you found one where surprisingly, let's be honest, City are probably going to win that.
Yeah.
But there's one where actually the odds for City to win it are really good in your favour.
Yeah.
You'd bet then. You wouldn't necessarily wait till.
Of course, yeah. Obviously here it's all about the amount of money you want to bet. But for any, for the public, let's say, who are going to bet £5 or whatever, as soon as they like it, they should bet it. But they have to be aware that you are never going to see that really big price on Man City.
No.
If you see it, it's either a mistake by the bookie or because there are very bad news for them.
Okay.
For example, Real Madrid, they are going to play my team, Betis, just before the Champions League final. It's going to be 1 week before. But, probably they're going to bench everybody. So I'm not sure if you can. No, probably you can still bet for that. But next week you will be able, I think. So probably the odds on Betis are going to drop a lot since they come. Or maybe not. Maybe already the first bookie who sets the odds already realizes of this, and the odds are going to be, relatively normal.
So it'd almost be a better game for you to bet on Madrid's, because you'd probably
you don't know. The thing is that it could also be a surprise. That's the odds are too high on Real Madrid from the beginning, and then the bench of Real Madrid is still better than Betis, right? So they could have a good chance of winning. These things are always difficult, but what you have to know is that when you see a really big price, it can also be because of other things. Actually, the other day, Real Sociedad versus Real Madrid, the odds on Real Madrid were really high, but they didn't drop. They didn't drop because they benched a lot of players.
Yeah.
And they won at the end.
They won, yeah.
So it's complicated. I remember once there was a Athletic Bilbao Betis, and Athletic Bilbao were going to play the final against Barcelona, and the odds on Betis were totally wrong. I think you could bet something like 5-1 on Betis, and the price should be something like 3. So I was betting everywhere on that, and then the odds dropped. So the bet was good. But then Betis played the worst game, and it was so pathetic because it's my team, and you put money on it, and it was the worst game I remember.
Situation.
And they lost, and it was incredibly frustrating, because it was probably the best bet I've done in my life.
Because if they'd had one, then you'd have.
No, I mean best bet in terms of technical,
Okay,
because I got 6-1 or 5-1 or something like that, and kickoff odds were something like 2-1.
Okay, so
it was
really
really
good,
good in theory, right? If you in betting, you normally talk about ROI. Have you heard of this concept?
ROI, yes.
Oh no!
It's a return on
investment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes,
right.
you do finance.
You
should know that.
Yeah.
I've heard you and Dan speak about that.
Full finance, bro.
Yeah.
Telling you.
Yeah, so it's very important. So obviously you can think of your theoretical return on investment and the real one, right? So for example, what I would recommend anybody who wants to make some money on betting is that they write down all their bets, and when they when the match finishes, you have to write down if the bet won or lost, but also the closing price. So with that closing price, sorry,
let me just write this down.
It's recorded. So no, basically you will be able to see if the bets that you have been doing have been dropping or not.
Okay.
If they haven't been dropping, you have to know that you have to change your strategy or whatever you're doing.
Okay.
But yeah, as I told you, probably your best way of starting is with a small league, or you can start also something like a Conference North, something like that is probably a good way of starting if you have, especially if you support one of the teams in the lower leagues. It's probably an easier way to start.
Not really, but yeah.
You can find out.
Yeah. No, yeah, of course. Just find
No,
it
for you, probably the easiest is to go to Brazil C or something like that, because Brazil
I
A.
probably know more.
No, what I mean is that you can read the news. It's going to be easier for you, or Spain, Spain Primera Federación, something like that.
Okay.
That's going to be because I tell you, I recommend you Poland, but maybe Poland you go and you don't understand the news, right? Now you can translate it online, but might be difficult to find news sometimes. That's the thing as well. To be good at pricing, you need to check the stats on the games. You need to check the odds, and you need to check the news. right?
Mm.
And also, you have to think a bit what the coach might be thinking.
Okay.
Okay, which is not easy, but a lot
Yes.
of people can have theories there, right? So, for example, imagine Aston Villa. Do you think Aston Villa are gonna be more tired on Sunday, or did they play yesterday thinking that they were gonna lose anyway? You know, like you have to think on how the coach is gonna be planning the week and things like that, right?
Who's injured?
Yeah,
who's
also
all
the
that,
injuries,
yeah.
but I don't know the news. But what I mean is
Yeah.
that you have to think what the coach is thinking, because he probably could have given up, right, after losing 2-4.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure if he did. I didn't check the squad. But what I mean is that you have to be thinking, are they going to be trying, or are they going to be, just with a B team to concentrate on the Premier League? These things are always quite difficult.
Yeah.
And obviously, when, for example, when you're betting, until you haven't bet 1,000 times, you cannot know if your strategy is good enough. This is also something that you can study with statistic numbers. I don't remember now the names, but there are like statistic, tests to check if your betting is good or not.
Okay.
Okay, it's like have you studied the T of a student? I'm not sure if that's the
It's been a
English
while
name.
since
Sorry.
It's been a while since I've did stats at school, so I did.
Well,
I
but
did
what I mean is
stats,
that there are ways of checking record to see if the bets were good or not, right?
yeah.
So that you will have tools online, and people will explain to you how to do it. But you will need around 1,000 bets, and I'm talking about single bets. So if you are doing ACAs, you will need probably, if you are doing, for example, doubles, you will need probably around 2,000 bets. If you are doing trebles, so it will be multiplying,
Okay.
So
Wow.
if you are doing 6-fold ACAs, you will not know if your betting is good or not until you've placed maybe 1 billion. So that's, what I mean? That's
So my friends,
that's why
my
you
friend's in
shouldn't
trouble.
start with. No, because maybe he's winning money and he doesn't care.
No, he's not.
But basically,
he promised me a beer. It's never happened.
yeah, basically singles with odds around evens is the best way of checking your stats. And yeah, up to 1,000 bets, you cannot be sure if you are doing something well or not. So, for example, imagine you are betting on that policy that we are talking about. Maybe you need around 2 years to know if you are betting well.
Wow.
That's why it's so difficult to learn and to because you can do five rounds of the league.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 50 matches. You can probably do 100 bets because you normally bet on the 1x2 and then also on the over/under. You do 100 bets and maybe you are winning a lot of money, but you have been lucky. Actually, this. You know what the Monte Carlo simulation is?
I've heard
You've
of
heard
it.
of it?
Yeah.
So Monte Carlo simulation is when you, for example, you have a model and then you have the results of what happened in the market, right? So then with the Monte Carlo simulation, you will simulate your model maybe 10,000 times, and then you will see with the results if you made money or not.
Yeah.
That explanation is not very good, but well,
No.
it's a
We got
tool.
the point.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's a tool that you use to check something, right?
Yeah.
So something that happening in the roulette is that people have this it's called martingale in English. So the martingale is when you start doubling your stake until you win something. So
Yes.
imagine, for example, you support
Doesn't work,
Everton. Yeah, well, it doesn't work. But it doesn't work because of 2 reasons,
Okay.
right? So basically, the idea is that you go to the roulette, you bet £1 on red, for example.
Yeah.
If you lose, you double the stake until you win, right? So that looks okay. Yeah, I'm always gonna win, right? But there are 2 limits. One limit is the limit in the roulette, which I don't know in London, but maybe it's £5,000. So after I think is 10 bets, you are gonna be betting 1,000. So after 12 bets, you are gonna be reaching the limit, right? So that doesn't work because it's not that difficult as it looks to lose 11 times in a row, right?
I've
But-
seen it happen.
Really? Okay.
I've seen it happen.
But what was the limit?
Yeah,
Someone
20p bet losing.
Ah,
11.
losing.
Oh, but the line.
Okay.
The line.
Online. Yeah.
But well, the other limit obviously is your own money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine, for example, imagine, for example, Elon Musk, somebody with 300 billion.
Yeah.
If he wanted to win £1 with that strategy, he probably would be able to. But only if he wants to win one pound.
Yeah.
Because he would have like a 99.9999 of winning £1. but obviously for him, it's not worth it, right?
No.
And then he would have all the the remaining probability 0.0001 of bankruptcy just to
Yeah.
win £1. So it would be
Yeah.
very stupid. So that's why you don't do this strategy. So one time, I met with this guy who had been making a lot of money with betting, and he told me his strategy was to bet on draws, but doing the martingale, so doubling the stakes all the time. And he had been successful for 6 months or something like that. And he told me, yeah, I made all this money. And I had to explain to him, like, you've been making all this money because you were lucky, but this is, you shouldn't do this, right? And I thought, well, he's gonna be doing it because it's difficult to believe, even if somebody tells you, to realize that your method is not good. It's difficult because you normally tend to believe that you are a genius or something, right? When you guess three draws in a row, for example, you think, oh my God, I'm amazing at this. And that's what happened with things like draws, because draws are very unlikely, really, and they look more likely than they are. Like, for example, do that exercise this week. Just think of the Premier League's matches that you think are going to end a draw, and then just check which were a draw, right? And then if you want to write down the price of the draw for each of them, then you will see how much money you would have won, and you probably will see that you lost, right? But even if you won, no, but what I mean is, even if you won, you have to bet 1,000 times to see that that you had a talent for it, right?
Yeah.
And you will probably see after 1,000 times that you
don't have a talent.
you probably lost a very little amount, right?
Okay.
Maybe after 1,000 bets, you lost something like a 5%. So maybe you recover. Yes, but that will be the average.
Mm-hmm.
Some people will have won, some people will have lost, but the average will be like losing a small percentage on those bets.
Okay.
But that's why betting is so difficult, because it's very easy to think that you've done it very well or whatever, and it's very difficult to realize, on the long term.
Okay. Could you do it with? Just was thinking of a strategy using that strategy which may work better than draws, is if let's say you picked a team like Real Madrid or Man City who tend to win most of their games during the season. Could you do that with them, like almost kind of they generally win by more than a goal. One do a handicap on them, and every week you just double your bet if you lose, and they're probably up.
Well, but it's the same. Like, if you believe that the odds on the bookmaker are correct, normally you are going to be losing what is called their juice in the US. In the UK, it's called overround, I think, margin. So, for example, imagine I'm tossing a coin, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a bookmaker, I'm not going to give you even odds on both sides. I will give you 195, 195. So that difference of 5 cents between the real price, which should be evens on both sides, and the 195, which is the real price I'm giving you, is what is called the juice in the US, and here it's called the overround, I think, or margin. So it's like a 5% margin that is basically their profit, right? People generally tend to bet slightly worse than the margin because they accumulate. And when you are making an accumulation, like your friend is doing, he's probably adding all those margins together. So then instead of making a negative margin of 5%, when you are putting 3 selections, you have 15%. When you have 5, you have 25%. People who do 20 selections, they probably have something like a 60% negative margin or something. So, like the more selections you are adding, if they are all bad, it's going to create a dent on your possible winnings. So.
I see.
But actually, there is an article online about this. It's called the favorite long shot bias. You can check it online. It's written by a person called Joseph Bookdal. And you will see that bookies tend to offer quite generous odds at the beginning of the week on the favorites. So if you, for example, do every Monday an ACA based on Man City winning, Arsenal winning, Madrid winning, and let's say no Barcelona because they haven't won so much this week. But
PSG and Inter.
PSG and Bayer Leverkusen, for example, you do those five, you probably are not gonna be that bad every year, because the odds the bookmakers are giving on these teams is normally a bit more generous than it should be. You will see how these odds drop during the week.
Okay.
Except if they are resting players or they have injuries, things like that. But most of the times, maybe they will offer 133, and at the end of the week they will offer 130. You know.
Okay.
But this is not a recommendation. You can check the article and see that you can do that and be better off than. Actually, the bookmakers lose a lot of money every weekend that happens when all the favorites win. So they are always hoping for one of the favorites not to win because it's what makes them more or less resist. If imagine if there was a year where all the favorites won like that, most bookmakers would lose a lot of money.
So kind of like an invincible season in the Premier League.
If something like that happens. It never happens, right?
No. But I said if there was one team that was invincible in all five at this in this one season, it'd be pandemonium, I guess, for betting companies.
It also happens a lot with comebacks for the live betting, like teams like Real Madrid or Barcelona when they had Messi. When they were losing, people loved betting for them. For the comeback, and it was happening all the time. Well, with Real Madrid,
Leverkusen right now, if they
Leverkusen.
draws.
So imagine for the bookmakers, it's very difficult to price that because it's like, it's gonna happen, but you still have to offer the odds. So it's like what you're trying to do is to be a bit aggressive on the not happening odds, but you don't want to be too aggressive because then you start arbing, which is what we were talking at the beginning. So it's very complicated. Like for example, imagine a start of the game. The odds are on Man City, for example, at home, there are 110 and the draw is 7 and away is 25. They receive 2 goals against, right? Suddenly the odds should be something like 190 and the draw maybe 4 and away win is still 4, even if they are 2-0. But nobody wants to give you the 190 because everybody wants that money, right? And it looks like it's going to happen anyway. So they will offer you maybe 175 or something. Okay. So they will try to concentrate all the margin on that and giving you draw and away odds maybe even above what it should be if you in mathematical terms, so to say. But it's because, people love them and then you get so much money bet on those that it becomes very scary when you are trading those games live, And I imagine the Real Madrid games have been really bad for bookies.
Yes. I'm going to ask you about scamming because obviously scamming in betting is a big thing and something that a lot of people, are worried about. You don't know if the tipster you've just found online is, good or if they're actually trying to make you money, and you don't know if the software you've just got is accurate. How would you get around that, and what's your experience with it?
Yeah, for example, I've seen, I'm not sure if the scam is the real word for this because maybe he's not making money directly from you. Maybe he's making the money from advertisement or something like that. In that case, maybe it's not a, not a scam. It's not a scam necessarily, and you're not losing any money. But be very careful with obviously the tipsters who show you that they're driving a Lamborghini or something like that. That's obviously a red flag. Because normally, people who are good at betting are normally quite simple in their way of living, right? Like they are not gonna be showing off, except maybe a handful of them have been like that. But generally, it's
it's uncommon.
Yeah, in Spain we have one guy who called Jados who does that.
It's like Andrew Tate but Spanish. Swear down, he's the same guy.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So
he also had the course. He lives in Miami with Lamborghini.
If you see like the tipster is trying to create a cult and he's doing things like a challenge and he's, for example, I saw the other day on Instagram a tipster and he was saying like, okay, I've been 15 out of 15 right this week. Why did I see that video, right? Because when he loses, let's say on the 7th bet, that video is not liked anymore, right? Yeah. Like people only like the videos when it's 14 out of 14. So obviously the algorithm is gonna favor the good streaks of wins. So every time he starts a new one and loses, nobody will care about it. When he's being on a really good strike that week, that video will become very popular, and suddenly, it will have a lot of views. A lot of people will see it. A lot of people will say, "Oh, if he's won 15 times this week, it's because he's a genius." But maybe, if you follow the whole track of him, he's had as many mistakes as. So if you follow his whole history, you will maybe see that he's not profitable at all. He's just making profit out of, for example, a lot of tipsters, what they make profit of is yes, the link he's sending you to register, for
Yeah.
example. He will get
like signing up to their website.
yeah, something like that.
Percentage of it.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, be careful, especially. I would say if they have a lot of followers, it's a bad signal as well.
Well, I
mean,
guess
it's-
also if they have 5 followers, it's probably also not great either.
well, but it might be.
Maybe.
Well, I think if he has 5 followers and he's doing the same thing.
Oh, he's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if it's 5 followers, but he's explaining why he's betting, and it can be good, but it's difficult to check. It's very important to check the track record. If it's not public, that's another red flag. Normally, the guy will have, for example, something that you cannot manipulate, something like a Twitter account where he has his whole record. Then you can trust him. And yeah, what else can I say about this? Yeah, no, I'm trying to think of scams I've seen, and I'm trying to remember. Like, for
Yeah,
example, yeah.
Mainly that these guys that are on social media that like look like they have super amazing lives, they just not trust them.
I mean, it might be true, but maybe because they're making the money off the other stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's unlikely, no.
It is unlikely, yeah, because that like the really good bettors, they are gonna be making money for themselves. Like these people we were talking about, like the Brighton owners or whatever. He's not gonna be selling his odds like that, right?
No.
And generally as well, like for example, if the tips are for something that is gonna start in 5 minutes, that's also a red flag, because normally people who bet well will bet a couple of days before the game.
Okay.
It's not necessarily a red flag, but I think it smells like
Smells a bit rotten.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to see the examples to tell you this is the reason why I don't trust him. But just check the track record. Check if it's if there is a way he could manipulate it. For example, don't trust a Google Sheets record, because that can be manipulated later, right? You don't have access to the original one. So if you can check something that has been for example, imagine somebody has a Twitter account or an Instagram account, and he's just has a different picture of the bets that they are happening. Maybe he's deleting all the pictures that he lost.
Yes.
So don't trust that either. So only trust if you can check that
Like verify
nothing. I don't know.
everything
I don't know how
yeah.
you can do it actually,
I mean,
because
sometimes if they actually have bets on there that they have lost and they're leaving them up, that may be a better sign that they are, more open.
but maybe he's deleting only a handful of them. So just be careful online.
It's a difficult one.
It's
Yeah,
difficult.
cool.
Like and especially like if somebody is telling you, I've been making a lot of money with this guy, but he only made 10 bets, don't trust it until we are on the 1,000 bets.
The 1,000 bets.
Yeah, I mean 1,000 is a good number, because nobody's gonna reach the 1,000
No,
generally.
yeah.
Normally, most of the tipsters after 1,000 bets, they are on the red side. They are losing, so that's why it's a good number.
Okay.
And it's also, have you heard about the last man standing theory?
No.
So if you imagine, for example, you're at home, right, and then you receive a letter. I mean, this is an old example. That you receive a letter on the post, and it tells you this weekend bet on this is gonna win, and you just don't believe it, right? Next week you read again, and you realize that last week he won. He tells you something, he also wins, and he does that over 7 weeks. And after the 7 weeks, you realize he was right the 7 times. Would you pay for his service, or would you think it's a scam? Imagine it's 7 weeks.
It would definitely cross your mind where you start to go, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So actually, to send a post to 128 people like that every week, you could get one of them that gets 7 right. Understand?
Oh, you could just send a bunch.
Yeah, so you can be spamming thousands of people.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
That's
They'll be like,
but that's
look
not-
look at
that's-
this guy that coined to me and he's
Yeah,
winning. Like,
Yeah, but that's not what is happening in Instagram, for example, because in Instagram they are saying the same message to everybody, right?
Yes.
But what happens is that they are doing it in a different way, like because their good bets become more popular than the bad bets, and so they are skewing the data on their way with their successes and not with the losses. But it's not exactly the same, but it's a very similar example of a scam that can happen.
Well, unfortunately, that is all we have today.
Unfortunately,
unfortunately, I've been really. That's been. I've learned a lot. I hope everyone else watching has learned a lot, and they can bet safer and more intelligently. That's kind of, I guess, the point of this podcast.
Look for the 1,000 bets.
Look for the 1,000 bets. That's the consensus we've come to. But thank you very much. Thank you for coming on. I've really enjoyed every second of it. Kind of wish there was a bit more time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if you guys did enjoy it, do let us know down in the comments. Like the video if you did enjoy it as well. Check out our merch. Subscribe if you're new around here, and we'll see you guys next week for another big podcast. Cheers.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.